So, I was talking yesterday about the first time I got booed on stage, and I started remembering just, little incidents, during shows and shit. And so, this is not about another instance of me getting booed. If you want to see that episode, it's on. Is it on YouTube? Is it on YouTube right now? No, maybe I'm editing that one right now. But I got some current ones on YouTube. Look under Greenwood District Studios, and you can see my edited versions of these shows, and you'll see the difference in regards to, music and little things, words and stuff, information on the screen like a regular show. This is just a live version. Yeah, let me get on there. So I talked about how I got booed for the first time many years ago, and in my 24 plus years as a comic, I've only been booed once on stage. But I've done some dumb shit on stage. One time I remember I did a gig in Florida. Was it in the Keys? Nope, this was before. I did it. The guy, the headline, I also did a gig with him later on in life in the Florida Keys. But I was on we were on a military base, just outside of a military base in Alabama, and I was the feature act, meaning I did 30 minutes. I'm the middle act, between the headliner and the MC. This as a comic, and and so the headliner was like this straight lace, suit and tie, casino, mob looking motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like he was, hey, it kind of reminds you of not his act, but his look and demeanor of hey, I get no respect. What's that dude's name? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Rodney Dangerfield. In the beginning of my career, I rode Greyhound. Greyhound was my mode and means of transportation. Me and Greyhound had a relationship like this. I got the Greyhound bus pass, Greyhound mileage points, Greyhound. They even offered me a job to drive one time. You know what I'm saying? Just on this route right here, so I can get some sleep in the back. Remember to pick up them prisoners over here. Oh, I got some stories about riding Greyhound. Oh my God, that just flooded back when I said that. Anyway, in the beginning of my career, I rode Greyhound bus, and this particular trip, Greyhound was tripping. It had missed a stop, and I think the stop that it had missed, I was supposed to get off on, and they ended up losing my luggage by the time I got to Alabama. So I got 3-4 days of bus funk on me. It's humid as fuck. It's the summertime. I remember that because when I got to Alabama, you could slice the humidity in that bitch. That's how humid it was. I got there just in time to get to the show because I couldn't take a shower. So I'm funky. My clothes selection was limited because I told myself I'm gonna wash my clothes in the next stop. I thought I was gonna get there on time to do that. So what I had left was these real baggy pants, and I had a new toy. I had gotten some advice from an OG comic who said, go get this a pilot's watch. It's called a pilot's watch. It's a little watch, a little clock about this tall, that thin, that you can clip on your belt, and it had a vibrator so you could set your time. So if I'm doing 30 minutes, I can set it to 25 minutes to vibrate. Then I know I got 5 minutes left to finish up my set. That shit was dope, right? So I'm funky. I got some fresh clothes on that don't fit. They too baggy. It was like my last resort clothes. I'm funky, hungry, frustrated, and I got this new toy. I wanted to try that new toy. That was the first night. So I got the new toy on, and I had to tell myself, let go, because I wasn't dependent on. I was never dependent on a mechanical device to know when I had to get off the stage, and it was hard for me. So I was like, this show, I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna depend on this stopwatch. I'm gonna depend on this stopwatch. So I'm doing my set. I'm killing them. This is a military base. I'm ex-military. So I'm relating and talking shit, and I'm a lot of it I'm riffing. So the headliner, he in the back. And at some point, I see him get up. And he's standing in the back directly ahead of me. I'm waiting for this thing, this alarm to go off on my hip. And I'm telling my shit. And then it didn't even dawn on me that I had went past 30 minutes. It never, and I had been doing stand-up probably about 7, 8 years at that point. And it hadn't dawned on me how much, it dawned on me that I was up there for a minute, but I didn't have a watch on. My watch was the timer. And so I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to keep looking down and looking at a timer on my watch. I'm going to make this look like it's seamless, because that's what my guy did when he had his timer. It looked like it was seamless, but he really had a timer going off to know what time he was getting off. So I wanted that feeling. So I waited for it patiently. That shit never came, man. And I know it was time to get off stage. It was time to look at my watch. When the headliner started pacing. He started pacing in the back. Then he started turning real red and shit. I'm like, what the fuck wrong with him? I'm like, man, I've been up here for a long time. When is this shit gonna go up? Man, I looked at that shit. It said like 58 minutes. It was on 58 minutes. This nigga was in the back. This nigga was in the back. Mad. He was heated. Now, why they didn't like me I know why in retrospect they didn't like me, because they liked me. And they was digging me, and so they didn't give a fuck. That dude may have been there before, and they didn't like him, as I remember, or some shit. But I remember getting ahead of myself. So I'm like, oh shit, I just did. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I acknowledged that I fucked up and I had to get off stage right then and there. So the headliner get on, right? They hated him. They hated that nigga, man. They hated him. They hated everything about that dude. So after the show, I went up to him, I apologized. I'm like, man, I'm so sorry, man. That never happened. And I tried to explain to him I had this new thing. You know, Chad Daniels told me to get it and blah, blah, blah. I was trying to, he didn't want to hear that shit. And plus, they hated him. And so he left the bar immediately. I hung out with the people at the bar afterwards, and they bought me drinks and told me, they was like, man, you know why we hated him? And I was like, no, what's up, man? Because he was scripted. He said he was scripted, man. You could tell that shit was, you know, he was reading off a script in his brain and shit. And you was up there just talking shit and da-da-da. And that's what, you know, plus you was military hood, blah, 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 you know, that type of shit. Yeah, man. That shit was, and then so later on, maybe 3-4 years later, I worked with the same headliner in the Florida Keys and shit. I know he looked at me like it was a better experience. We both had a good show. We did it outside under the tiki, whatever you call that, the bar shit that's outside, and it was fantastic. And the crazy thing about it, I went and hung out with the locals at one of their apartment spots, and then like left, and then a week later found out they had a fucking hurricane. Well, I knew the hurricane was coming, and it went through and tore the spot we performed at, tore that shit up. And I want to say even the apartment that we kicked it at one of the bartender spots, tore all that shit up. That shit was crazy. I got there by Greyhound too. I rode the bus to that bitch through the Florida Keys. I rode the bus everywhere, man. In my first 2-3 years of my career, I rode the Greyhound bus everywhere. We used to pick up people getting released from prison and shit. Like on the Greyhound, they making stops at the prison to pick up motherfuckers that's getting paroled and shit. As a young comic, I not knowing shit, I was like, are they serious? Like, what did you do? Like, ooh, look like he had life. Is he escaping? I was like, what's going on? Why is this legal? Yo, that shit was crazy. And a lot of times they was the coolest motherfuckers ever. Like one time, they must have released half a prison, and it was this white girl on the bus. It was like me and maybe 4 or 5 other black people, and then this white girl. And I was like, ooh, she about to get, ooh. I was scared for her. I'm like, these niggas is getting out of prison. They about to toss you up in this bitch. And they was the coolest. it was the coolest ever. The white girl was acting a little thirsty, but ended up knowing how to, navigate and do the conversations and dig it, I was worried about her though. I was like, "Ooh, you foaming at the mouth too much. Like you might want to get off at the next stop." But it was cool. They was cool. We had a good time. And you know what was funny? There was a couple on the bus who I should have been worried about instead of worrying about the cats that just got paroled. Because I had my phone stolen one time on and I had, I performed in 43 states. And so I know certain stops, even though I'm not getting off at the stop, and I can be like, yeah, I performed at the city, We stopped in Omaha, Nebraska, and I had one of them the Google Plus phones, the one that had the keyboard, it was white, had the little ball. I had that phone, and it was dope. And somebody on the bus stole it, and I knew exactly who did it. And so where we were in Omaha, Nebraska, and at that particular Greyhound station, right down the street is the police station. Because right down the street from the police station is the comedy club that I performed at several times. So I know the area. So I used that to my advantage because we only stopped there for a minute to pick up new passengers. And so I got off the bus to do something. I can't remember what we had to get off the bus. When I got back on the bus, I saw that my phone had been taken. Why I left it on the bus in the first fucking place, I don't remember. But my phone was stolen. Now we about to leave. I'm like, we not leaving this station until I get my phone back. Well, sir, but I was like, somebody on this fucking bus stole my phone and I know who did it. And so I said, I already called the police. I really didn't. But I knew the police station, and I was like, the police station is right there. And I knew where the police station was. And so the bus driver, kind of sided with me a little bit, whatever. It was like, all right, well, we're going to stay here until the police come until the phone shows up. So, lo and behold, I said, I got off the bus, went back inside for a minute, go back on the bus, go back by my seat, started looking around again, and lo and behold, guess what I found? The couple that stole it sat right behind me. And all of a sudden, I found my phone. And so we got to leave and shit. But, yeah, man, motherfucker tried to steal then tried to be my friend afterward. They were trying to be my friend beforehand. It was cool. And then I found out they thieves and shit. We didn't speak on it afterwards. We didn't say nothing. I just didn't kick it with them. I didn't say too much to them. They knew it was a guilty smell in the air. it was guilt de toilet. You know what I'm saying? Like it was who told you to live in one house in one city? Ask him that. Who told you one house in one city? Ask him that. Talking about dude talking about I got one viewer and shit. I don't be thinking about that shit, man. I know that when it comes down to it, that we got numbers in different places that matter, and once it's gonna take about my goal based on the numbers that I'm getting in regards to different platforms. I think that I can get to my goal in less than a year, and it's all gonna take consistency in the quality of product that I put out, and keeping up doing these videos and giving the main purpose is to give information, even if it's minor. I think it's minor. I know from my perspective, when I was looking and doing research in the field that I wanted to go into, that small little gems come out from people with experience. And giving those small little gems sometimes could be the thing that takes somebody over the top. So I want to give, the controllers have imprisoned Earth. Yeah.